Hey, everybody, we're live. I'm Madalyn Sklar, host of Social Media and AI Shortcuts. It's a rebranded live stream we're doing now. We're not doing Twitter Smarter anymore, I think, for obvious reasons. But I love coming together with my community and talking about the latest with social AI and, of course, a little bit of AI thrown in. But today we're going to be talking mostly about AI. There's all kinds of AI news going on, including that brand new DeepSeek you may have heard about. And I love talking about my favorite all-in-one AI tool called Magi. So I've got Dustin here to chat with us for a little bit. And later we'll catch up on some of the latest social media news as well. Dustin, I always appreciate you popping in. I know you're such a busy guy, but you know how much I love Magi. I use it all the time. And I just really appreciate you coming by from time to time and hanging out with us as we, talk about things going on with AI, but specifically with what you're doing with Magi.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot going on, and I happen to put myself into an industry that is constantly moving and changing, which is great for me because I hate being bored, and so in an industry that moves like this, you never get bored. I was trying to turn my lights on in the background to match yours, but they're not working for some reason.
Oh, all
Try this.
good. It's all good.
I
I
love
got
your blue and purplish pink. I love
I
that's our colors. So
right. And it's so funny because like these are some Amazon lights I got last summer, and I got one on each side, and I was playing with all the colors, and I wasn't even thinking of like your Magi, but I do love your Magi colors. But I kept playing with it, and I kept going back to this configuration, and it's so funny that you say that because you're right. This is like the color scheme you use with Magi. For anybody that's not familiar with Magi, can you tell everybody really like just a brief overview? What is Magi?
yeah, so Magi is an all-in-one AI platform. So instead of having to subscribe to 15 different AI tools and play the leapfrog game that everybody else is playing, you get all the best tools in one place under one subscription, under one beautiful user interface. So when ChatGPT launches a new version, Magi users have it instantly. When Claude releases a new version, Magi users have it instantly. When a new model like DeepSeek comes out of nowhere and upends the whole industry, Magi users get access to it. No need to sign up for another tool, no need for another subscription, no need to learn a new workflow and a new interface. It's all in one unified interface for you. We stay on top of it so you don't have to.
I just love that. I mean, I've been on Magi since you basically started this platform, and I absolutely love it. I remember when it was just ChatGPT, but then you added Claude, and then all of a sudden there's Gemini and Grok, and now DeepSeek, this brand new one. It's like, man, Dustin's fast putting that up on there. I love this because I like that it's one place I can go to do all of them. So instead of paying $20 over here to this one and $20 for that, they all seem to be $20 a month, that I can just do $20 a month through Magi and have access to all of
You
these.
get them all.
Yeah, which is just brilliant. And you really do a great job of staying on top of this and paying attention to what's new, what's going on. I just love it. And I know I grabbed your attention yesterday because you did like a little post on Instagram that caught my eye. Let me pull that up really quick. And yeah, I saw this yesterday and I was like, ooh, that's such a pretty image. I love that. And I haven't done a lot with the image generators in Magi. I've always focused so much on the tech stuff, but I really want to play more with this. So I saw this, and what grabbed my attention was that you're providing the prompt you used. And this is basically a little mini class. You like in your Instagram post, you have the prompt you use. You said the AI model to generate this image was Leonardo. I had never played with Leonardo before. And I'm like, it's in my Magi. Why don't I just open up my Magi and follow what you did? So I took your exact prompt, I copy and pasted it into my Magi under Leonardo. And then you also said that you used ChatGPT 4.0 to generate the caption. So I did that as well. And I was like, okay, I gotta do this. And then not only do I need to do it, I need to post it as well. So let me pull up this became my version using your exact prompt. And it was so easy to do. But many times we don't really, I mean, I'm techie and all, but I don't always pay attention to like how all this stuff works. So
Mhm.
seeing your simple instructions in your Instagram post, I could easily just, oh, let me do what he did. And this was the result I got. And it's a beautiful image.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing that daily. We found it's really helpful for people to see examples and to actually see the prompts that we're using for them. So this is going to be a daily thing that we do on our Instagram account. And so I'm super pumped. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, just never found the time to do it. But I
I,
finally hired some help, and they're helping me get it out there and produce that, those educational type of inspiration posts every single day.
I love that. I love that, you're getting more of that out there because I definitely need that. I like just little mini things like just, oh, here's like just a
Mhm.
little like, oh, here's this will take me 2 seconds to do. So then of course I took it and put it over on my X. And I
Mhm.
even went a step further and I did a little screen share showing this is my Magi screen showing this was it. These were the steps. It was incredibly simple and easy to do, just putting in the prompt, and Leonardo created the image. And then right inside Magi, I switched to ChatGPT, all in the same chat here, and then put in the prompt or said generate a caption for this image. I couldn't believe how simple and easy this was to do. I love what you're doing with Magi. I can't stress enough how amazing that this tool is
Thank
and
you.
how
We
much it
really work
helps.
hard. So I wanted to build a tool that was easy to use for somebody who doesn't have time to learn all the different apps. Like they don't have time to go learn all the different AI models and learn all the techniques. Like I wanted an app that was simple and comprehensive, but simple, easy to just jump in and start using for somebody who's like, I just need to write an email. Like I just need to write some copy for our webpage. Like I just need some ideas. I don't want to learn all these extra tools and things. So we work really hard to make the interface easy to use, easy to get started. But as you dive deeper, you can kind of evolve with the other advanced tools that are in there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna actually pull up my Magi screen because I know that little video clip I have on X kind of goes through it quickly. But it's amazing that all I had to do was come up to the prompt and put in the image. You have all the different image ones, so I put in Leonardo, and then I put in the prompt, and it created this beautiful image. And then I come back up here, I switch over to Chat GPT. I mean, I just copied exactly your steps, even though look at all these options with Claude. You got the brand new DeepSeek, which I'm just blown away how quickly you got that on here. Gemini Pro, which is one of my favorites. But I just followed exactly how you did this. And I was just amazed how quick and easy this was. I know I talk about Magi all the time. I don't want people to think like, oh, I'm this paid, you know, uh, uh, influencer on this. I'm not. I mean, of course, I do have an affiliate link. Don't we all? But I only talk about things that I personally use that I like. I've been in the digital marketing space for 29 years. I'm not going to sit here and promote things that I don't personally use and don't really believe in just to make a few bucks. This is something I use pretty much every single day, multiple times a day. And I'm just blown away at how much it helps me. And I'm sure you hear that every day, Dustin.
I do, and it's what gets me up in the morning. I get up every single morning excited to work on this. In fact, I have such a hard time not working on it to try and make it better when I hear people say like, oh, I love this and this improved my day so much. Like I just want to go make it better and make it better. And I've not done a good job of the work of marketing it because I'm so busy consumed with how can I make it better? How can I make it better? But yeah,
Right.
slowly but surely, we will eventually start to market our own product. And we have a great team now. We have 2 developers on staff, and I just hired a new executive assistant to kind of take some of the other stuff off my plate. So yeah, it's really fun. I feel really blessed that I get to do this. And I've said for years, like, all I want to do is just make cool stuff that improves people's lives. And I think we're doing that so far with Magi. We'll continue to do that as best we can.
I agree with everything you said 100%. Now, I know you're limited on time, and I'm going to bring our panelists from our community up in just a few minutes, but there's the new buzz right now,
Mhm.
DeepSeek. That's all we're hearing about, this DeepSeek. Can you tell everybody what that is?
Yeah, so DeepSeek is a company based out of China who have developed their own AI models. The one that's making news right now is called R1, but they did actually have several predecessors to R1, and I've been tracking them for quite a while now. Their predecessor, right before they released R1, was called V3, which assumes they had a V2 and a V1. But V1 was sort of like the Chat GPT-4 or GPT-4 competitor. Wasn't quite as good as GPT-4, but as soon as they released R1, it was their competitor to OpenAI's O1 model, their thinking or reasoning model. It's a model that kind of thinks through your problem before it starts answering you. And what happened was when R1 came out and people started playing with it, I was actually playing with it weeks ago. Before the public had access, and it's quite good. Not only is it quite good, it's at the level of O1 at a fraction of the cost. So most people understand like these things take a lot of processing power to run, and the cost is associated with how much computer power they need to do a single request. So what DeepSeek's team has managed to do is execute the same level of sophistication and intelligence at a fraction of the power consumption. And so the cost is way lower. And so they've really upended the industry in such a ways to dramatically lower the cost. And so imagine you have, the highly in demand product that they've set the price at this level, and somebody comes in and says, well, we can give you that same quality, but for a fraction of the price. Chaos ensues, and that's what we've been seeing over the last week or so as R1 has really taken the public by storm. Now, the biggest controversy of this is, of course, it's a Chinese run and operated app. And, we have all the controversy over TikTok, and is the Chinese government spying on you? I don't want to speak to that at all because there are people much smarter and more knowledgeable than me about whether or not that is true. But if you are concerned about privacy and you are concerned about that type of thing, one of the other great things I think about what DeepSeek has done with this model is they've open sourced it. And open source essentially means that they have taken this software and put it out into the public for anyone to download, anyone to evaluate. You can literally go line by line through all of the code, all of the weights, and all of the, everything that makes up an AI model. And you can download it and install it on your own server that is controlled by you, that cannot be accessed by foreign entities and be spied on. And that's essentially what we've done with Magi. We've gotten a vendor and installed R1 into a server stack that is privately owned here on US soil. And that way we can offer the best models from DeepSeek to our users, 100% privacy, with 100% privacy and security, and not have any of that, potential controversial overhead. So yeah, that's what we've done over the last week. And I think everybody should try it. Now, what I will say about DeepSeek R1 is I kind of compare it to Grok in that, Grok from Twitter/X AI, it has more personality. So it's kind of built to be more whimsical, be more sort of playful in its default answers. And so, if you're looking for something that's a little more professional, a little more cold, then, O1's going to be a better output. But of course, with any sort of persona that you add to it, you can, increase the personality or decrease it. And same with R1. Like by default, it's going to be a little more witty and whimsical, but you can tone it down using a persona set of instructions over top of it. So yeah, I mean, it's worth playing with it. At the end of the day, I highly recommend exploring these different models because they may unlock, different perspectives and ideas. But another thing to keep in mind as well, I was just talking on a podcast about this, I think yesterday or the day before, but every AI model has bias built into it. Every company that makes these models has to train it on large amounts of data, and some companies may spend a little more time curating that data that might match their values and their ideals. And so you're going to get some models that have very obvious biases that are built into them. R1 is one of those models that definitely has some very clear bias if you ask it very specific questions that are maybe not the kind of things that they want to shed light on in China or acknowledge in China. So you do have to be very mindful of when you ask these AI models about factual information or information that could potentially be biased. In all likelihood, it very well could be. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah, such great info you're sharing. Larry's asking, did DeepSeek get hacked?
They
There
did.
were rumors about that.
Yeah. There was a breach, some sort of an attack made on their systems. I don't know what level of compromise they had on their systems, but there was some sort of a hack that did seem to catch them off guard.
Yeah, but being open source, like you were saying, you have this available for Magi users and is securely on a server, private. I know a lot of people are concerned about the whole, it's owned by a Chinese company.
Yeah, my policy is we will never use a model. We will never integrate with a company or app or anything that does not respect our users' privacy by default. So most of these models, when you go sign up for ChatGPT, and I just found out today that ChatGPT has been changing my privacy settings despite me changing them over and over again to not train on my data. So most of these models reserve the right to train on your data. So all the conversations you have, they have the right to retain that information and to train their future models on it. So if you're putting proprietary information in there, data that is, proprietary to you or stuff that is, even patented, if you're putting it into these models, if you don't find the setting or they don't make it available for you to say, do not train on my data, then they will. And in all likelihood, somebody could, a year down the road be asking the AI something and it regurgitates something close to what your proprietary information might be because it's been trained on it. So it's very important for you to make sure if you're using something like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini that you find the setting, if it's available, it's not always available, that says, do not train on my data. Today I found ChatGPT has changed their language to be a little bit more manipulative. I was stunned. Hold on, let me find the exact word here because it was in plain sight and it has changed. So it says data controls, improve the model for everyone. That is what it's labeled now. And it's an on-off switch that you have to click through to get the off switch. And essentially what it means to improve the model for everyone is that you're allowing ChatGPT to train on your chats, train its newer models on your information. So I would recommend turning that off. With Magi, it's always off by default. We do not even offer the opportunity for you to turn it on. We will never train on your data. We will not allow any of our providers to train on your data. Your data, when it is sent to these providers to process and send back into Magi, they are required to delete it as quickly as legally they are allowed to. So yeah, make sure you double check those settings because I always turn mine off on these other apps. Somehow it keeps getting turned back on.
Wow, this is so good to know. Thank you so much I know you're such a busy guy. I really appreciate you jumping on here for just a little bit and sharing all of this because I did not really know that by me using Magi, that it's all secure, that it's, my data, that's not happening. But if I'm on ChatGPT Direct, Claude, any of the others, I'd have to make sure I adjust that setting. And that's just kind of things that not everybody knows about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very important to know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. If you have just a quick minute, why not bring up all of our community members that want to come join in? Maybe somebody has a quick question. Let me just bring everybody up real quick here. All right. Wow, we got a great group of members of our community here with us. Does anybody have any questions for Dustin real quick before he has to go? Okay, Maria.
Well, my question was, and hi, Dustin, thank you so much for being here. My question was, does Magi turn it off, that setting for us?
By default.
Yeah. So that was beautiful because
always by default. So again, if the greatest AI in the world comes out and says, now you can add us to your Magi platform, and the only catch is that we're going to train on all your users' data, I will say, thank you, no thanks.
Right.
We will not integrate with anybody who doesn't allow us to, by default, opt out of any data training or retention.
Right. Because like a lot of us, whoever's listening out there was hearing you say how to go into the settings, and I was getting on overload already, trying to remember how to do that. So
Yeah.
that is such peace of mind to know
Yeah.
that it's there. And what a great product to have all of those different tools in one place. My second question is voiceover. Are you able to do audio on the content? Is there something in Magi that helps with audio? Or no?
Not yet. It's on our
Okay.
roadmap though. So we have integrations with 11 labs and I think 2 other providers that we're working on getting in there. But with a small team, we can only get to so much in so little time. But I would say the audio, if I remember our roadmap correctly, is probably a month or 2 out, I would say. We have some of them already built, but workflows and so forth take some time to really integrate in a way that's not overwhelming for the user. So they're coming. They will be there. And if you're part of the community or part of our Facebook group, we would love to hear like ideas and feedback of how you would use them. Because for me, I don't want to just add every new AI thing just for the sake of it. I would rather add it for an explicit purpose.
Right.
There's a lot of AI tools out there that are very interesting and they do entertaining things, but we're out here trying to help people get their work done in a way that's actually makes an impact on their lives. And so like I don't see us adding an avatar generator where you can make yourself sing songs. Like I don't find that very useful for day-to-day work. But if we get a few community members who are like, this is how it impacts my work and this is how it would make my life easier, then we'll absolutely prioritize that on our roadmap.
Yeah, and that question was probably pretty niche because I do voiceover work in meditations, and even the stuff you're generating with those pictures are so beautiful. I tend to use my own photography on Canva and all that kind of stuff. But if I could figure out a way to use some of these shortcuts, that would be fantastic. But I may be in the minority, so
we'd love to hear it. Like I want to hear real world use cases.
Okay.
The more we get of those, the better we can sort of project and direct the product.
Thank you.
Yeah, Maria, you should definitely join the Facebook group that Dustin has for Magi. It's really good, and he's always listening, so he's always open for input, which I appreciate. Dustin, do you need to go? I know, like you're so pressed for time.
I've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Anybody else have a question?
Please. It's Barb here.
Go ahead, Barb.
Dustin, wow. I'm impressed, and I have not used Magi, and but I have a ChatGPT Pro account, and I've pretty much focused on that. I'm an old lady, so I can't do all these zillions of things and bring any focus and get things done. But that when you're bringing these other AI solutions into your application, like what I have in the Pro account, it's not that level, right? You have to draw from the free versions of whatever those apps are?
No. We use the same exact models that Pro users have access to.
So you're licensed?
We have an API agreement with these companies. Okay. So it's not like we're getting ChatGPT for free. We actually pay more than most users.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're getting the premium model straight. It's almost like if there's a ChatGPT factory, right? And they're pumping out responses, right? We've got a direct line into the factory, just like the ChatGPT app does. We've just pumped it into our container, so to speak.
That is awesome. So in that vein, like Madalyn, I kind of need an affiliate link to get started, because just based on this information you provided to me today, I have one group that has over 25,000 members that they're very focused on using AI tools. And that would be a much better way for them to get started.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
hope we can connect somewhere on X, formerly Twitter.
I'll help y'all connect.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I can put y'all together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great question. Well, Dustin, thank you so much for hanging out and spending time with us. It's very helpful, useful information for all of us. So thank you.
Happy to be here.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, you can reach me on Twitter.
Or Facebook.
Look at that cool
or Facebook. Yeah.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
So yeah, I mean, y'all, I know I talk about Magi all the time. It is such a great tool. This helps me so much in my work. And for the variety, I do a lot of different things and I use it for all of it. But that whole thing I was doing yesterday that I showed earlier with the imagery was so freaking cool and so easy to do. Just following when y'all saw me do that earlier and show on the screen. Did y'all see how easy that was? Just to
Yeah.
take the prompt and just put it in, and I could have kept going. I could have tweaked it up. I could have just kept going and doing things. But what I really wanted to do was just follow exactly what he had posted on Instagram and then put it on video to just show people how simple that was. It just took me minutes to do. It was so easy. And it's helping me do more of the whole image generation, which I haven't done a whole lot of.
I love that so much because so many of us say we're old, we don't know how to learn new things, but to get those simple instructions like that and have all of those platforms available in one spot, how cool is that? Instead of shopping around and getting overwhelmed by all of the content, all of the different tools. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. So for anybody that has just arrived, I had Dustin from Magi on, one of my favorite AI tools. I love that I can just do everything on one platform here with it. And what I was showing earlier is this was something I came up on my feed on Instagram yesterday from Dustin, where he walks through in very simple terms how he created this image inside of Magi. So in this here, he shares the prompt and he said the AI model he used was Leonardo. So I just thought, I'm going to go copy this exactly. So I went and opened up my Magi. I turned on Leonardo and I copied and pasted this prompt right here, word for word. And then it said that to get the caption, he used GPT-4o. So I just followed that exactly and just wanted to recreate exactly what he did. And so let me pull up my Magi real quick and show you all the end result. I couldn't believe how simple and easy this was to do. I mean, I've been using Magi, since it came out, like almost 2 years ago, I think. But I just want to keep doing more and learn how to do more things. And this is my Magi. I came up here and I put in under images, I just opened up Leonardo. I put in the prompt he had and, it created the image. Let me take that out so I can go back to where it was. So it literally, I don't even know how many seconds. It didn't take long. It was less than a minute, I think. It created this image. It was beautiful. I liked it as is. I'm like, I don't even need to tweak it, but I could have. I mean, I could have just kept playing around with it. And then I simply said, generate a caption for this image. That's when I switched to GPT-4 at the top and asked it for that. And it gave me right here this caption. So that's what I ended up doing. I went over to Instagram and posted mine. So let me show y'all real quick. I know not everybody was here at the beginning when I first. So basically I took what he did and mirrored it and got a cool image and posted it on here so people could see how simple and easy that was. And my goal is to just help inspire more people to play around with this and do things like this. I mean, does this inspire y'all to play around with AI more when you see stuff like this? Yeah, y'all like it? Cool. All righty. Well, gals, I'm so glad y'all were able to come on and give me a little space to have Dustin on for a few minutes and have him chat with us. But great to see y'all back. Y'all were all here last week. We had an amazing time chatting about social media and AI. I'm so glad y'all are back for more. Let's talk about a little bit more AI stuff. So have y'all been hearing about this DeepSeek? Because that's been all over the news this week, this whole DeepSeek, and Dustin talked about it a little bit. Has anybody here played with it yet? Have any of y'all tried it yet? No? So
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Barb.
I haven't played with it, but this morning I received, I assist Udemy instructors in their courses, and I received my first free course coupon on DeepSeek today. And I was just kind of before I came here, because obviously I had a full schedule for this day, but before I came in, I actually launched the course just to see, what in general, what its take was. And it appears to be very exciting. That's something that I will be exploring this week. I very much, when it was introduced, said, nah, one more. I don't have time for one more.
Right.
And then, Michael Stelzner from Social
Media Examiner.
Social Media Examiner. He's someone I've been a part of my world since 2005. And he actually put a post on his profile about it yesterday, a very long one. And my concern, of course, was security. And so, number one, I'm going to try it through Dustin.
Through Magi,
Because after what he revealed today, it just doesn't make sense to go any other route, especially as you do get older. You're much more budget conscious, no matter how much money you've made. And I just think, and then there's this issue about being able to remember clearly. So just having one clear link, one clear destination is awesome. And just the way he presented himself, I'm comfortable with doing business with someone like that.
He's very knowledgeable, and he's always listening to the community, listening to the users of Magi, and always keeping it up to date. And it was so cool that he was telling us about like what ChatGPT was doing, kind of sliding in this little thing that, like that he caught. And I didn't even realize until he was saying it that if you're using Magi, it's all private, like it's, because this whole thing with DeepSeek is that it's a Chinese company. So that's everybody's freaking out like, okay, our stuff's not going to be secure, it's not going to be private, but it's open source. So you can literally take the code and put it on your own server. So it was great hearing Dustin talk about that. Yeah, Maria.
Yeah, I that makes me feel better for sure, because all of these platforms, one day your settings are one way and the next they aren't anymore. Yeah. So it was really refreshing for Dustin to be so upfront about that. And I think that's so important. The only way we get to know that kind of stuff is by talking about it. Nobody's posting it everywhere, necessarily.
Right. Exactly.
And especially like, for those of us, over 40, it's scary to go in and all of a sudden, even on X, all of a sudden you're not in a community or you're not following people and you don't know what happened. So that was great too. Yeah. Rachel, I see you there. Hi.
Hey, Rachel. It's so great having all of y'all here, and Deborah's here too, and Gail. So glad you all made it. We had such a great discussion last week. I feel like we're just kind of picking up where we left off. It's mostly AI stuff because that's what's been in the news this week. But I started playing with DeepSeek. Before I realized it was in Magi, I was just on the DeepSeek website playing with it. I mean, I'm not sitting here worried about, do I have stuff on my computer that I look, everything we do online, our data is everywhere. But what I did is I went to DeepSeek. So this is not Magi, this is just directly on DeepSeek. And what I did something real simple. I just said, what can you tell me about Madalyn Sklar? I was just curious, like, what would it say? And I was impressed. It laid this out so nicely. It said all these great things about me. And then I said, what are your sources? Because I'm like, this was completely accurate. I'm like, where did it get all these sources? So it told me is based on a mixture of licensed data, publicly available information, and open source knowledge up until October 2023. It says it does not have direct access to real-time databases, proprietary sources, or personal data unless it's provided during our conversation. And I was just super impressed with it gave information that I could use on an About Me page. I was really, really impressed. So then I went over to ChatGPT, to the ChatGPT 01 to be like, okay, let's see what they give me. So let me bring that up. So I go into ChatGPT and it was good. It was very similar. I felt like the DeepSeek was a little bit better, but I like to do this. I like to compare and see. I will many times inside of Magi, because you can switch around. You can be in one chat and just keep switching the different platforms inside of it. I'll be like, let me say something and start with ChatGPT, and like, okay, now let me change it to Claude. Now let me change it to Gemini Pro. And through all of that, it's like, wow, I really like Gemini a lot. And I was not even familiar with it all that much. Yes, Maria.
I loved what Dustin was saying about the bias that's in it, that's being taught to the AI, to the different systems. So what you just said, can you explain that a little bit, especially for those who are just joining right now? Because I thought his idea, his description of certain programs, certain AIs being more whimsical, for instance, and being able to toggle that switch. And what you just said reminded me of that. You can go through and see what the AI personality, what the bias built in
Right.
looks like, if it matches with you, with your person, what you want to create out there. I thought that was fascinating, that
Yeah.
bias idea.
Yeah, because they're all just a little bit different from each other. When Grok came out, we already knew that was going to be very whimsical, and you get a whole different experience when you use that one typically. So that's what I love about Magi. I don't have to sit here and go to all these different sites, all these different AI sites, and and have a subscription. Like, they all have free versions, but also it's like, oh, like with ChatGPT, I really like that audio feature, which I've done here on this live stream. I've done some demos where you can just have this real-time conversation back and forth. On Magi, he's added there's a free version of that with ChatGPT. If you're on the free account, you get 10 minutes a month of that interactive chat, whether you're on desktop or mobile. So he has integrated that into Magi, but it's only with the 10 minutes a month, because I guess that's all it would let him do. So I've been experimenting with a ChatGPT Plus account with the $20 a month, just so I can play with it, because I'm just trying to see what all can I do with it. And I love it, but I'm not going to get rid of my Magi, because Magi lets me do everything, and now with DeepSeek in there, I'm like, okay, this is really cool. And knowing all the data is secure and private in there is a lot of comfort with that.
Yeah, fantastic.
So yeah, this is just really, I don't know. I just geek out over stuff like this. I just find it so incredibly interesting. And y'all, in the past, I've talked about Notebook LM. Have any of y'all here played with Notebook LM? Is that one that's been on any of y'all's radar? I've played with it on here a few times. There's so many of these. Notebook LM is interesting because, unlike those usual AIs where you give it prompts and you like ask it questions and stuff, with Notebook LM, you provide sources. So when I did an experiment with this on one of my live streams recently, I put in the source of my LinkedIn profile and an about me on my website, like an about me page, and just to see what it would come up with based on that information. And it just gave me like taking all that information and coming up with like a summary. It can do like a whole bunch of things. But what's really cool is this audio feature where it's like this. I'm sure some of y'all have heard about this, like this podcast thing, where it will take whatever sources you give it, and they call it audio overview. It's like a podcast. It's AI generated with a male and a female voices, and they talk about whatever sources you provide. So I have some examples of this I've done. It's over on my YouTube channel. It's super cool. But I was doing an experiment this week, and that's why I want to show y'all real quick. I know not everybody is familiar with Notebook LM.
Well, I have to say though, Madalyn, then where are the podcasters? It's that age-old question of, is AI taking the place of people? Like, where do I talk then?
Right. Well, here's the thing.
That's a whole other conversation.
I've seen some people use this to create a podcast because they don't want to like have their voice. They're not comfortable, or whatever reason, they don't want their voice on a podcast. But they're seeing how easy it is to use a tool like this. It's free. This is a Google product. Notebook is Notebook LM. Notebooklm.google.com is the website. But I want to show something cool that I had done in here, because I'm always looking for like, what else can I do with this? How can I do more? So I created a folder the other day. Well, I added some sources the other day. So, recently, I think it was a few weeks ago, I had my good friend Kami Hoysa on. We go way back, and we used to have a podcast called Communities That Convert. And it was all about helping people build online communities, just everything related to community building. And we haven't done it in a long time. We did it for years, but then we stopped, probably around COVID, I think is when we stopped, because just life got in the way of everything back then. But what we've been doing is we've been working on a project where we're creating a book about community building. And we've been going through a lot of this old content, which was very evergreen. Like this is all stuff that's still relevant today. It's just, community building 101, So what I did in here is I took these on the left here, this is where you add your sources. I put in transcripts of 3 of the episodes we had. Episode 2 on monetization, episode 6, and episode 8. And I just popped it in, and I wanted to listen to this audio overview, not to use it somewhere, but what's cool is I'm always just doing things on the go. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm sure a lot of y'all do as well. This can take, because I'm like, this was so long ago when we did these episodes, and I'm just trying to do a refresher because we're working on this book and we're trying to kind of go back to the content, some of the content we used previously. So by putting in these 3 into this one place here, now it's going to give me an audio overview. It's 18 minutes long, and it's the podcast version with the male and female voice. It is completely AI. So let me play just a little bit of it so y'all can hear it.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into the world of online communities.
Ooh, fun.
Specifically, how to make them profitable. We've got a really interesting set of conversations from the Communities That Convert podcast with Madalyn Sklar and Cami Hoyza.
I've heard of them.
They've been building and monetizing communities since way back in the 90s.
Wow, that's a long time.
I know, even before Facebook groups existed.
Really?
Let me forward a little. But it sounds so personal, just 2 people hanging out and chatting. But let me forward a little bit.
Expertise. Help your members achieve their goals and generate revenue at the same time.
Right. It's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly.
Now, they also mentioned platforms like Patreon and Kickstarter. Are those along the same lines?
They are, in the sense that they offer ways for your fans to directly support your work.
Okay.
So this is taking text transcripts of 3 episodes we did years ago and just summarizing all of this, sounding very much like 2 humans talking, but it is AI. And then to go a step further, a brand new feature they just added, and I've shown this here recently too, it's in beta, this interactive mode. So if I click on interactive mode, I can actually ask them a question. I can interact with them. Here, let me just mess with them.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into the world.
Oh, hey there. How can we help?
Hi, how do you pronounce their names again?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's easy to get tripped up on names.
The hosts of Communities That Convert are named Madalyn Sklar and Cami Hoyza.
Madalyn is spelled Madeline, and Sklar is Sklar.
You got one letter
Cami
wrong.
is spelled Cammy, and Hoyza is Hoiza.
No, K.
We'll probably mention their names a
K-A-M-I.
few more times, so hopefully that helps.
Isn't that so cool?
I was going to say you have to go correct it.
Yeah. And that happens, of course, but
yeah.
It's just amazing that you can have this all, because what's really cool is you could take a book and pop it in there, take a PDF, an ebook, whatever, put it in there and get that audio version that you could just listen to on the go while you're out driving and walking your dog, whatever, and just have this summarized version, which sounds like a real podcast with 2 people.
Right. When I'm particularly impressed with the way the voices meld together. There's no talking over each other,
right?
Which gives me confidence too, because sometimes, even on a StreamYard, I want to put myself in mute, but it sounds more natural when you hear someone going exactly or whatever in between, and the ability for the AI to time it just right. You don't have to go edit and take out the ums and ahs. Wow, it's perfect.
It's really impressive, and I've seen some people take that and put that out as a podcast as is. Now, Deborah, I know, has used Notebook LM, but you mentioned once before, Deborah, you have a whole process because you're using some other voices, doing another program, but tell everybody how you're doing Notebook LM.
I would use straight Notebook LM, but I use Podera because it has like set voices. So that's really the only reason why I'm using Podera instead of just straight Notebook LM. But I also use Magi because I go through the whole process with the Notebook LM and I have this conversation, and then I take the conversation and I take a prompt, go into Magi, and I say, now take this conversation and make an article out of it. And then I take that article and feed it into Podera and make another conversation. So I grab all this research and I go out there and I really try to make it as human oriented. I want to be involved in the research. I want to ask the question as far as finding these articles and things. And then I feed that into Notebook LM, get that conversation, then feed that into Magi to get an article. And then I usually take it to my husband and say, okay, does this look legit? Is this, because I don't know anything about Jaguar, like, does this look like it? Something about a car? Does it, am I saying anything that's incorrect? And he reads over it. Yeah, hey, that's pretty good. Yeah, okay, and then I take it over to Podera, feed it in, and then we get the episode, and then we go for a ride in the Jaguar and listen to the episode and make sure it's legit, and then publish it. So it's
awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's a fun couples, event too. So really get involved.
Do you ask him about fantasy football sometimes?
He's not into football, so that it's like just he's a musician and he's into his Jaguar. So
I just love all this technology and different ways we can use it for whatever it is we're trying to do. So yeah, today is more like an AI day, but that's pretty much it for the AI talk. And I can't believe how fast our hour goes. Y'all may remember last week, I showed a really cool video clip from that Diary of CEO podcast. It was on YouTube with, they had the guest Daniel Priestley, and he was talking about some interesting stats with LinkedIn and YouTube that were just really interesting about how
like content creators,
like how such a small percentage actually create content. Mm-hmm. And there is another clip that I want to show y'all from that same episode, that same interview, talking about marketing, and he shares a marketing hack that I found so interesting, and I love things like this, and it just goes back to what I say so many times here. The reason why I do this social media and AI shortcuts is I'm always coming across these things. It's like, oh, I gotta share this with my community. This is good stuff. I'm not keeping this all to myself. So this is just a really interesting clip. It's about 2 minutes long, I think, maybe 3, but it's really good stuff. So let me play this for y'all and let's hear your thoughts on it.
One of the big things that is going to give me a significant competitive advantage if I'm building a business is personal branding. What else do you think someone like me at the start of my career needs to understand about the game of personal branding? Are there any particular platforms I should be aiming at, a particular upload cadence, a particular type of content?
Here's what you need to know. You need to know that humans have a limited ability to remember names and faces. They only have a small number of slots in their brain for who they remember. And the number is about 1,500 in total. And it's about 150 that you can kind of remember well. And these are called Dunbar's numbers. And Dunbar's numbers basically said you've got a few slots for your family and then some more slots for friends. Then you've got your acquaintances, right out to 1,500 people that you can easily put a name and a face to. In order for you to be successful, you've got to get into people's head. They have to kind of know who you are. In order to do that, they have to spend time with you. They have to have repetition with you, and they have to see you in multiple contexts. So the research says 7, 11, 4. 7 hours, 11 interactions on 4 platforms. In order for you to remember me.
Okay, right? Total. Okay.
So, for example, you and I, we've now connected a few times. So we have probably clocked up maybe 7 hours together. Mm-hmm. Now, what that means is that if I bumped into you at a conference, even if I was on one side of the room and you're on the other side of the room, you'd say, oh, there's Daniel. Your brain would immediately go, oh, there's Daniel. I'll walk over, I'll say hello, because we've spent enough time together. Now, there's this phenomenon called parasocial relationships. Parasocial relationships are basically one-sided relationships. It's how we feel towards famous people. So we think that we know George Clooney. We think that we know Angelina Jolie. We don't. It's a parasocial relationship. That person, we've spent time with them through their movies, through their media appearances, and therefore, because they've clocked up 7, 11, 4 with us, we then feel that we know them. Is this making sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So what we have to do is build parasocial relationships at scale. So what we have to do is put out enough stuff where anyone can spend 7 hours, 11 interactions on 4 platforms. So when I work with entrepreneurs, here's one of the questions I always ask. I say, if I was to block out tomorrow and I'm going to take all day to watch, read, or listen to everything that you've got available online, and I'm looking for things that are on message that tell me about who you are, who you serve, what it is that you do, can I spend all day going through your online environment and just fill the entire day? And most people say no. And then occasionally some people say yes, and they say, yeah, actually you can. I've been on a few podcasts. I've got an audiobook that I released. I've got some videos on YouTube. I've got some posts on LinkedIn. You could go through all of that. Those are the ones that are scaling really fast because they've put in the work to be scalable. They can build a parasocial relationship like that.
Wow. Is that interesting or what? Was it just me that thought? I mean, I just watched that. I'm like, wow. I mean, a lot of that stuff I think we know, because a lot of us have been doing marketing a long time.
Madalyn, I was just talking to someone about this, almost exactly the same thing yesterday, but now you've given me data. So I wrote something. I'm going to because I said, in order for her to promote her event, and one of the things she said is, she says, she has this flyer, and I said, you got to get it out, even if it's not perfect, get it out, because it's more important that you get, even to save the date. And I said, what holds people back is they want to get that perfect video, the perfect clip, the perfect content. But I said, you need to get your face out there. You need to be, and she's also beautiful, and she's kind, like she has all these wonderful attributes. So I said, you need to run with that and so now I'm going to tell it 7 hours, 11 interactions, 4 platforms, because
it's so good.
That was amazing. Because like you said, we all know it, but he just gave some data and stats to it. And I think a lot, as I said, I work a lot in manufacturing. I've worked with people who you can tell them and over, but when you give that type of data, that often resonates with people. We all learn differently, but I love that clip. I'll have to send that off.
Yeah, and I'll have the links to all this stuff in my YouTube description for this live stream. I'll have that later, and I'll have everything timestamped too. Maria, what was your thought on that?
Well, I love that same idea. With confidence, sometimes people plan things like events or a webinar, or workshop, but if you're not out there enough and you try to market it too soon, you have to keep your balance there too. And people don't realize how much they need to put in, to get out there, just like he was talking about. Fantastic. A lot of people want to, host podcasts or spaces or whatever they want to do, but then they get discouraged because no one comes to listen, but they don't do the work first to get their personality out there. They don't realize that their personality itself, I love that what he said, in different environments, the diversity, our ranges. I can't just be in a cave meditating all the time. Of course, I share my dog on social media and my kids a little bit, because people, it's a know, like, and trust kind of idea too. The other part of that, though, that reminds me, you have the Angelina Jolie, crazy fans maybe, and the paparazzi chasing her. So it's important to keep safety in mind also, because sometimes fans, when you have that what did he call it?
Parasocial.
Yeah, parasocial, which is, it's a great thing, and once in a stray, you might get somebody that gets disappointed because you're not paying attention to them as much as they think you should.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not really a nice person because they're not talking to me, or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of a safety thought a little bit too on what he was saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me being careful.
It's
a beautiful thing, but yeah.
No, I love your insights. Barb, do you have any thoughts on that video clip?
I was already familiar with it through an article on Psychology Today from some time ago when I was in a think tank on creating community through live streaming, because that makes a whole, we feel the connectivity amongst us. me today, I just have my voice. When I pop in with my full body, it is amazing what happens to you who are on with both your body and your face, the difference it makes when that moment occurs. Yeah. It's almost like, wow, she just streaked through the video. But one of the things I did early on in online, just in communications, is I went to Psychology Today a lot, and I started networking with psychologists because I knew, mind, body, that whole experience. And so I knew of it being around, but I think that one of the way that we break through that, and we don't have to spend as much time as what was touted in that, is if you can go live somewhere, even if it is just audio. And I think that's why the podcasting has had a renewed awakening for the whole the whole experience, is because people long to make the human connection. And I think that what, Madalyn, when you did the demonstration on Notebook LM today, I mean, those voices sounded very human.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it was like Gail, I think it was Gail who said, that when they come in with the other interactions in between, that humanizes it even more. And so I noticed today, because I'm only on audio, and I thought, well, gee, if I want to say something, how do I put my hand up? On Zoom, we can put our hand up through, a feature on Zoom, and people know that even if it's just our picture, we want to talk. And so with the method that I'm using here, obviously, well, now I know that there are ways I can do it because of the application I'm using, but typically when you come in with just an audio avatar, you can't do those kind of things. But my desire to research it, do more with it, is because of the human factor. Because just like that one extra step to be more human. So yeah, but it's a great video.
I think too, the ranges of situations that we show ourselves in out here, but also the technology too, because I think it's really important to let people know, don't go overboard either. Some people think they need to set up their phone in their kitchen and be, on there for 10 hours with people watching like a live stream of their life. So don't go overboard either. Just because we might mention go live, it helps your visibility. Don't go overboard and mix it up. It's okay to just do audio. That's powerful also. And different people connect in different ways. Sometimes, in fact, the video can be distracting. I much prefer to listen to a podcast than to watch it on screen. For me, it can get a little distracting. But, try everything. A little bit of everything. Don't go overboard. Don't overindulge.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Deborah, do you have any thoughts on that video clip?
I missed part of it. I went to go grab a soda, and I have to admit my brain cells, I think, are going in and out because I've been up for 36 hours. But I agree with Gail as far as like the data. I heard the little bit that I heard when I came back with the soda was like, wow, I wish I'd heard all this. So I need to go back and watch this afterwards, because it's like I was looking for something like this, similar to what you guys were saying. I really, not that I didn't resonate with what you said, Barb, but definitely Gail and Maria, you're saying something very similar to what I was thinking just yesterday and the day before. So as soon as my brain cells take a little nap, then I will come back and watch. Definitely.
It's all good. Well, I'll definitely have the links to this later on my YouTube channel. But, this really resonated with me because he's talking about really just strategies that have been around forever. I've been in digital marketing for 29 years. And when he talked about 7 hours, 11 interactions, 4 platforms, I mean, the 7 hours was like, okay, did that come from the old school and I'm sure some of y'all remember this, back in the olden days of online marketing, even before online marketing, where you marketed with postcards. Who remembers the postcard marketing? Don't tell me I'm like the only one that did. Okay. So that was
My hands up.
Very old school. That would have been like, in the 80s, 90s. So back in the day, what they would say is, your prospect had to get a postcard from you 7 times before they paid attention to you. Do y'all remember that? Because boy, that was ingrained in me. I mean, that's old school marketing, sales and marketing. And so it's so interesting that here we are, 2025, and when he's talking about, when they just said the number 7 somewhere in that, like 7 hours, I'm like, I wonder if that came from just that old school 7 postcards, in their hands before they even take notice of you. It's just
Lucky
really,
7.
yeah, exactly. It just makes me feel old because that was so old school. But hey, I don't miss those trips to the post office and buying a gazillion postcard little stamps and oh my God.
But Madalyn, one of the things, because you and I think you're younger than me, or I'm not sure. But anyways, one of the things I realized from coming from that background, it helps me be better in digital because I worked and done radio, billboards, yellow pages. I can remember yellow pages.
Oh yeah.
The thing is, billboards, like I've worked with clients on billboards, they can be, if done well, they can really be great if you use them with social or with radio, right? If you tie it in and anyways, I think having all that background is why you are amazing at what you do. And I just wanted to say, in terms of my interaction with you, I still remember our phone call where you helped me with a few things. You told me to put one photo. Remember, because I had a different photo on Instagram,
right.
And you said no, consistency. And I tell you, I passed that on, and I give credit to you because that was the best.
Oh, yeah, because that's like, branding is like having that one image that you use everywhere. Because otherwise people get confused when they see and they're like, wait a minute, is that the same person or is that not the same person? And what I used to always say, and now, man, we had that call a long time ago.
I know.
What I would always tell people is that, when you think of like Coca-Cola, Starbucks, like the big brands, they just have that one logo and it's everywhere. But with personal branding, we all had to kind of learn like, oh, we're a brand too, but it's our picture, it's our face. So
that's particularly important. I'm sorry, on social audio, because people will change their picture all the time. And then when they come into a space, I don't know it's them anymore.
Right.
It's that consistency really matters. It's kind of fun to change your photo, but it's much better for product identification. Yes.
Absolutely.
Stay consistent. Love that.
Absolutely. Oh man, we always have such a great chat here. I mean, of course I have so much more, but we don't have time for it because we've already gone over our hour. It's always
Just
so quick. Just a little bit. And that's okay. I don't mind, but it's like, okay, I'll just save some of the stuff for next week. But I just want to remind everybody, first of all, we got a bunch of people watching live, especially over on X. I imagine we have some people on Facebook and YouTube watching as well. I hope we do. But we definitely have the bulk of them over on X. So thank you for everybody that's watching live, and thank you for our replay. Hey, if you're watching the replay and you're still here, you rock. That's what I'm going to say, because we're like an hour and 2 minutes in. I think
leave
it's just
comments
amazing.
on the video. Leave comments wherever you're writing.
Wherever you're watching.
Tell us where you're watching from. Yeah,
absolutely, would love that. But just as a reminder for everybody, we do have a place where we can continue our discussions over on the school platform. I have, let me pull it up real quick. So this is our social media and AI shortcuts. It's like a forum, kind of like a Facebook group, but better, I think. And it's free, available for anybody that wants to come join us there. So just go over to school.com. I guess it'd help if I put a banner up that actually had the link so I can make it even easier for y'all. Go to school.com/Madalyn Sklar. It's just a place where I can just share more info, and you can too. Like y'all can, post things in there as well. It's a community chat. But like, I came across this really cool article today that I posted in there. It's an article about for those that are still utilizing Facebook for their business marketing. It's a really great article on 25 tips to get more likes. And the thing I wanted to show, but we didn't have time, I'll play it next week. There's this really great clip. So I went ahead and posted over here. So for those of you utilizing a YouTube strategy, this guy's like one of the experts in YouTube marketing for your business. And he said something so profound, and so I'll play the clip next week, but he says, your YouTube title is the algorithm. The thumbnail is the audience. And it was just so interesting. So he said, don't think for your audience, think from your audience. It just, when he says it on the video, it's just really cool. And it really got me thinking a lot. So, so yeah, I have all kinds of stuff over here, over on School, but it's just a way for us to continue our discussions. So y'all feel free to join, sign up, and contribute. Feel free to, add things you're coming across that you think will help people in our community when it comes to social media and or AI stuff. So, ladies, thank you so much for coming and doing this with me.
Thank you.
I don't mind doing stuff like this by myself, but this is so much better as a group and having our community together. I love that so much. So I appreciate y'all taking time.
I just love the way you do things because you highlight other people and share. There's so much information out there in the world culling through it all. Oh my gosh, you guys, if you're not following Madalyn, get on all her stuff if you can. She's phenomenal. So,
you are so kind. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Madalyn.
Well, first of all, I've been building online communities since the mid 90s. And for me, it's all about giving a place for people to talk and having, so it's a platform for them. So many communities, it's not that way. It's whoever's the leader wants to like do all the leading and do all the talking. And I just don't believe in that. I feel like a community what I'm good at doing is bringing people together, but passing the mic to everybody.
You are so my people.
Y'all are too.
Love
We've had a lot of people staying here this whole time. We appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in live and hanging out. We do this every Thursday. Some of you may remember this 1 hour time slot used to be Twitter Smarter Chat back in the day, back when it was the old school Twitter chat. And then, I'm always pivoting. That's just my thing. So it's interesting because this summer will actually be the 10-year anniversary of when I started the Twitter Smarter Chat. I started in July 2015. I started the Twitter Smarter podcast. I know you like that, Maria. Started the podcast first. It's so funny because everybody just knew me for the Twitter chat, but the podcast came before the chat.
We're all evolving in magical ways.
Always.
Yes.
It was such a great time with you all. Thank y'all. And we'll come back next Thursday. Hope to see y'all again. Y'all have a great rest of your day. The replay will be available as soon as we're done here. And I'll put the links to everything we watched in just a little bit.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all later.